Okay, now let's take the case of an example of calculating a factorial by making use of a while loop. So here also we have the same as like we have to use a constant right-line method. So that allows the user friendly to enter the value for which we need to calculate the factorial. So in this case it is constant right-line, enter number to calculate the factorial. Now the next comes the initialization declaration of the number for which we need to calculate the factorial. So for this we need to use the convert to int32 constant right-line method. By means of which the user friendly enters a number for which we need to get calculated the factorial number. Now we have the int fact equal to 1 we have to initialize, then followed by I equal to 1, that is then while I is less than or equal to none, then within the bracket the conditional logic, that is fact is equal to fact star I followed by I plus plus. Then as soon the while loop makes an exit, we have to give the functional call for the factorial of that particular number for which we intended to get the factorial. So the factorial of the num for which we need to calculate the factorial is fact. So the fact variable will be having the resultant calculated factorial value. So here we have to make the basic comparison between how a for loop and a while loop varies. So in the for loop we have seen as such that the initialization, the boolean part and the incremental part as such is within the round brackets. Only the conditional logic is within the curly brackets. Now what happens in the while loop is that in here only the initialization is external, only the boolean condition is within the brackets, round brackets, and within the curly brackets is the conditional logic, then followed by the iterative part is just before finishing up with the curly bracket. This is how the logical syntactic variation comes from a for loop and a while loop, whereas the functionally they work the same. So only difference is that for loop has a different kind of operation than that of a while loop, even though they purpose the same, the functional aspects. Now we can give a build and check for the functional errors, means functional and syntactic errors. So we can see that it's a build success, that it is free of all the compilation errors. Now we can give a start and give a build of the debug of the session. So we can share the page for which we have to get the output. So here comes the page. Now the compiler asks the user-friendly person to enter the number for which it needs to get calculated for the factorial value. So we enter the number as 5 and we get the number as 120. So it works as such what we got expected.